Meanwhile, in India, the capital Delhi has experienced its hottest ever June night, with temperatures rising higher than normal by 6 degrees. One government hospital said it had seen 46 patients suffering from heat stroke this month alone. With more, here's our correspondent Samira Hussain.
Follow me. We're going to go into the critical care unit at this emergency ward in this government hospital here in central Delhi. And if you come in, you can see that half of the patients here are actually here because of heat stroke. I mean, this particular hospital primarily sees day laborers. So these are people that are outside, migrant workers that are in this heat, that are working outside. They also see a lot of elderly patients who are a lot more susceptible to these kinds of high temperatures. You know, and there are people just coming in and out of here every minute. This particular hospital has actually built a heat stroke unit, and they have these large baths and ice making machines so they can cool down people's temperatures really quickly. The head of emergency medicine here told me that just yesterday, for the first time in his career, he's recorded a temperature of 110 degrees in a patient. And remember that a normal body temperature is about 98 degrees. And when temperatures get that high, he said, well, that can lead to multiple organ failure. So it's really dangerous. Now, this hospital, over the last 2 days, has seen about 24 heat stroke patients come in, of which 5 have died. And that gives you a sense of just how critical the situation is. And remember, this is just one hospital in the capital of India, as the entire country is dealing with a heat wave.
To Washington and new developments in an ethics investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. The House Ethics Committee has released a statement on the probe into a number of serious allegations, including sexual misconduct. Rachel Scott is on Capitol Hill with the exclusive details. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Rebecca, good morning to you. Yes, this is a rare and unusually detailed statement from the House Ethics Committee, making it clear it's still looking into Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. And it comes as ABC News learns new exclusive details about what witnesses told the committee.
This morning, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under investigation. The House Ethics Committee revealing that it is continuing to probe Gaetz over explosive allegations, including that he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, accepted improper gifts, and that he sought to obstruct government investigations of his conduct. Sources tell ABC News the committee has interviewed at least a half a dozen women who allegedly attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present, and who were paid by Gaetz's one-time close friend Joel Greenberg, who pleaded guilty to wire fraud and sex trafficking a minor. ABC News learning the committee has obtained Gaetz's Venmo records. Sources say one woman testified that a Venmo payment from Gaetz was for sex. Others saying they were paid to attend parties with Gaetz that featured drugs. The Republican lawmaker and close ally of Donald Trump has denied all the allegations against him. In a tweet Monday, Gaetz saying in part, "Every investigation into me ends the same way, my exoneration." But last year, the federal government informed Gaetz it was declining to bring charges, allowing the committee's probe to now resume.
The House Ethics Committee declined to comment on our new reporting. In a separate statement, the committee says that it's no longer pursuing allegations that the Florida congressman...
Well, the White House is disputing reports that a high-level meeting was canceled between U.S. and Israeli officials in Washington this week.
Yeah, these reports follow Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accusing the U.S. of withholding weapons from his military. The Israeli Prime Minister issued harsh remarks in this video on Monday. Netanyahu said it's inconceivable that the U.S. has withheld weapons and ammunition to Israel over the past few months. He suggested the delay in receiving support is slowing his country's offensive in Rafah. The White House says it doesn't know what the Prime Minister is speaking about.
Let's bring in now CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay from Tel Aviv. Chris, what more can you tell us about this meeting that maybe was or wasn't supposed to happen, and then more generally where things stand for the partnership between the U.S. and Israel?
Hey, Errol and Lana. Yeah, there's clearly a lot of frustration behind closed doors that's now spilling out into the open. You know, it's not the first time we've seen divisions like this between the United States and Israel. The Biden administration for months has been expressing some of its frustrations with just the conduct of the war, especially when it comes to the offensive in Rafah. the first thing I thought when I saw this video from Benjamin Netanyahu was, so this is the prime minister without his war cabinet. Because remember, earlier this week, he dissolved his war cabinet after one of the leading opposition members in that cabinet stepped down. Earlier on in the war, it was supposed to be this institution to show unity throughout Israel with this team of rivals working together. Now Benjamin Netanyahu is more isolated than ever before, and he no longer has somebody like Benny Gantz to point the finger at when things aren't going his way, when perhaps frustrations are rising in the country over the fact that we're now in the 9th month of this war and there's still 120 hostages being held by Hamas. So who else can Benjamin Netanyahu blame but Biden and the White House?
Meantime, Chris, the Israeli military says it's approved an operational plan for an offensive in Lebanon. And you've been reporting on the growing tit-for-tat exchanges with Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants in the region. What do we know about this potential plan and Israel expanding operations along its northern border at a time like this?
Right. It's certainly a very tense moment. There have been these tit-for-tat exchanges now going on for the past several days. You know, when it comes to Israel, one way or another, this has to stop. What I mean by that is either diplomatically or militarily. The main reason is because you have 125,000 Israelis who are internally displaced. Most of them are from along the border with Lebanon because of these exchanges of fire that have been happening since October 7th. In fact, Israel came very close to launching a full-scale invasion of southern Lebanon at the same time it responded to those attacks of October 7th. And so it's always been kind of on a hair trigger because in the meantime, you have all of these Israelis who can't go back to their homes, entire communities that have just been emptied. So Israel is trying to resolve this. In the meantime, it's very expensive for individuals and also for the government to take care of these displaced people. And so this plan is Israel's way of saying, look, one way or another, we hope it's diplomatically, but if it has to be militarily, we're ready to respond.
All right, Chris Livesay joining us from Tel Aviv. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
In the U.S., meanwhile, Justin Timberlake has been arrested for DWI in the Hamptons on Long Island, accused of driving through a stop sign and swerving out of his lane. Tonight, here, the new video of Timberlake driving before his arrest and what Timberlake told the arresting officer. Here now, Trevor Ault.
Tonight, pop superstar Justin Timberlake accused of driving while intoxicated, held in jail overnight in the Hamptons, the affluent beach community on Long Island, New York. This DailyMail.com photo showing the 43-year-old in handcuffs. Police say shortly after midnight, Timberlake was behind the wheel in Sag Harbor when he ran a stop sign and swerved out of his lane. This surveillance video shows Timberlake's gray BMW driving down Main Street shortly before his arrest. According to the criminal complaint, when an officer pulled him over, Timberlake had bloodshot, glassy eyes, slowed speech, and was unsteady on his feet, performing poorly on a field sobriety test. The officer quoted Timberlake saying, "I had one martini and followed my friends home." But that arresting officer said Timberlake's breath smelled of alcohol. And according to the complaint, Timberlake...
In New Mexico, at least one person has now died as a result of two out-of-control wildfires. They are burning in the southern part of the state. The South Fork and the Salt fires prompted New Mexico's governor to declare a state of emergency for Lincoln County and nearby Mescalero Apache Reservation. Omar Villafranca has our report.
The South Fork fire and Salt fire have devastated much of Rio Doso, New Mexico. As of Tuesday night, they'd burned more than 20,000 acres and at least 500 structures, with both fires 0% contained.
We have two devastating, enormous fires. And when I say enormous, it means that they're getting more and more complicated to address.
New Mexico's governor estimates 5,000 people evacuated from Rio Doso following an urgent order from the city to go now. EarthCam footage from Monday shows traffic piling up as people fled, with plumes of smoke swelling in the background.
Within 2 hours, it looked like it exploded. It looked like apocalyptic.
I don't even know if our house is left yet.
It was very concerning.
Dyron Hill is the police chief of Carrizozo, New Mexico, but he and his family live in Rio Doso and are among the evacuees.
What are you hoping to see for a sign of progress? Well, we hope for a miracle, to be honest with you. I'm hoping that the wind will die down, we'll get the help we need from all over the United States, and we can get this knocked down so we don't lose any more homes. We've had enough lives affected right now. We don't need any more.
We are here at one of the main staging areas for fire crews in Ruidoso, New Mexico. And to get here, we had to drive through some thick smoke. And that's also where we saw some damage. We saw some burnt out cars and some structures that were burned down. Also some hot spots, which is important to note because this fire is 0% contained and crews will be working nonstop to try to get a hold of it. Anne Marie?
All right, Omar, thank you.